Hey guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you a video today to talk about wet weather control elements on soccer cleats slash football boots, more specifically Nike's All Conditions Control, also known as ACC, and Adidas's Non-Stop Grip, also known as NSG. Now, why I'm making a video talking about these two specific wet control elements is because I want to talk about as to whether or not they actually have a noticeable impact, because in my opinion, it's something that you really shouldn't be focusing on when buying a new pair of soccer shoes, be it from Nike, Adidas, or any other brand for that matter. And I'm going to be talking about why in today's video. So if you really had your heart set on a pair of Nike shoes specifically because of the ACC feature, some of the opinions and I guess information that I'm going to share in today's video you may find very, very interesting and informative. So with that being said, let's get right into why wet control elements aren't necessarily all that's important in a high-end pair of soccer shoes. This is somewhat of a difficult topic to discuss, mainly because it's very much based on opinion. In this case, my own personal opinion. And it's also, I guess, a major reason why I don't think wet control elements are that big of a factor when it comes to overall performance, is because it is very much based on opinion. If something truly impacts performance, everybody should feel the exact same thing or experience the exact same thing. And that's not really the case with wet weather control elements. And I'm going to explain why in just a second. Now, I have made a video on ACC All Conditions Control from Nike in the past. It's way back when it first came out. It was a couple years ago. If you want to go and watch that video, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen. But basically, my conclusion in that video when ACC was newly released and kind of a new thing for the soccer cleat world, it was the latest and greatest innovation, is that it felt a little bit different from the other Nike models in the past that didn't have ACC, but the difference wasn't overly significant. And now that ACC has been around for years, and now Adidas has non-stop grip, and I'm sure we're going to see some kind of wet control element from other brands as well. Puma has grip techs, which we do see on some of their models. They don't necessarily tout it as a wet control element, but you could kind of, I guess, skew it to fall under that category as well. But what's really funny about these wet control elements is now that every single high-end model has it, how has that actually changed the performance of those high-end shoes? I really don't think that it has. And the reason why I say this is because I don't go from a Nike shoe to an Adidas shoe to a Puma shoe to a Mizuno shoe to whatever brand it may be and automatically notice elements that are, at least when you're talking about ACC, invisible. So that is kind of, for me, the main thing. It's like, how much faith can you put into all conditions control when it's an element, a performance element that is entirely invisible? There's no real way to test a wet control element. There's so many variables when it comes to playing in wet weather. Yes, the surface of your shoe, in theory, might be more dry, it might be more grippy, whatever it is, but the ball's going to be wet. There could be grass on the ball. The ground is obviously going to be wet. There could be water splashing on your shoe the instant that the ball makes contact. There's just so many things. There's no way to measure as to whether or not your performance, your touch, your grip on the ball is actually going to be better or worse with or without ACC, with or without non-stop grip, with or without whatever kind of wet control element. For me, when I wear a pair of shoes, the feel of that shoe in the rain is different in comparison to everything else, and that has to do with the upper, the finish on the upper, not necessarily ACC or non-stop grip. Non-stop grip from Adidas, at least, is something that you can physically see and feel with your hands to the touch. But again, does it actually impact your touch on the ball in wet weather? I would personally argue that it doesn't. Yes, there are coatings that are proven to repel water. You see this a lot with car products, be it a wax, be it a windshield coating, something like that, where once water touches it, it kind of flies off completely. It does repel water. In the case of a soccer shoe, you can't necessarily spray your soccer shoes with Rain-X and expect them to completely repel water and hope that that's going to impact your performance. Ultimately, when it's wet outside, everything is more slippery, everything is kind of a little bit more difficult. And if you don't know how to play in the wet, if you've never played in the wet before, you're going to have a hard time regardless of whether or not your shoes have ACC. It's just one of those things that I just can't put that much faith into an element that is so minimal, be it ACC, be it nonstop grip, and really feel confident that that element is what's helping me play better in wet weather. I really view this as more of a kind of a placebo effect thing than anything. I'm sure there is legitimate science behind nonstop grip and ACC, but like I said, it's not something that I feel is a necessity if I'm playing in wet weather. If I'm going to play a game and I'm not testing out a pair of shoes, I'm not going to prioritize wearing a shoe with ACC just because I know it's raining outside. That's just not something that I'm personally going to do. Again, your opinion may be different, your experience might be different, but I'm sure there's plenty of people that have had experiences very similar to mine where ACC is pretty much just a label on the shoe and not something that I think is going to make or break your experience with any Nike shoe or Nike product in general. I think you can wear a Superfly 5 and you can go out and play in a Veloce 2, and yes, they're going to feel different in wet weather, but that's because they're different uppers with different finishes and different shoes entirely, not because one has ACC and one doesn't. Again, it's something that you can't really measure. It's really down to personal feel and a little bit the placebo effect. And the placebo effect does have power, no doubt about that. But again, if you are looking to buy a brand new pair of shoes, don't strictly look at a specific brand because of a wet control element feature that may or may not have any impact at all on your overall experience. And the impact that it does have, if it has anything for you, is extremely minimal. You should be picking your shoes based on the type of feel, the type of fit that you're looking for, and that should be kind of the end of the story. Obviously, there are other factors to consider from a performance standpoint, but again, wet weather control elements to me, at least at this point in terms of what they've become so far, are fairly insignificant in the grand scheme of overall performance. So just keep that in mind, just something that I wanted to share in video form because I do get a lot of people kind of asking questions specifically about ACC and nonstop grip and how that's something they really prioritize in a pair of shoes. And I just don't think that it's something that should be viewed as the most important thing. It's kind of just an extra feature that, like I said, at the end of the day is invisible and you can't really prove that it's doing anything. Alright guys, so that is my video sharing my opinions on wet weather control elements. Again, share your opinions down below in the comment section. I know there's a lot of people that swear by stuff like ACC and nonstop grip, but for me, that just really isn't the case at all. But again, let me know what you guys think. We'll get a bit of a discussion going. If you have any questions at all, leave them down below in the comment section and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.